Hey guys, so here is a brand new locus question that was in one of our booklets. So it's sketched the locus of the complex number z and it's given this relationship. So what we want to do is to draw a locus, we have two options. We can either use our x plus iy form or we can analyze the locus directly. Now this locus is pretty hard to analyze directly, so we know that arg z plus 1 is equal to, and now what I'm going to do is rewrite my right hand side as the conjugate of arg z plus I. Now using our argument laws, that is the same as the negative argument of just z plus I. Now, so we've created a new relationship, but still this is a little bit hard to visualize if you haven't seen it before. And so what I always tell my students is that we want to understand the restrictions of a locus using this form, but the x plus iy form will always give us the shape of a graph. So let's try and figure out what the shape of this graph will look like. So let's z equal x plus iy. That would mean that we are looking for the argument of x plus iy plus 1 is equal to negative the argument of x plus iy plus I. Now remember that the argument is the tan inverse of our imaginary component over our real component. So that will be tan inverse y over x plus 1 is equal to negative tan inverse y plus 1 over x. We can then tan both sides, and remembering that tan is odd, so then we will get y on x plus 1 is equal to y plus 1 on x. Now let's try and make y the subject of this. So let's cross multiply. So xy is equal to, sorry, there should be a negative here. Negative xy minus x minus y minus 1. We're going to move all the y's to one side. So we'll get 2xy plus y is equal to negative x minus 1. And then let's make y the subject. So y is equal to negative x minus 1 over 2x plus 1. So this graph here will give us the shape of what our locus will look like, but it doesn't account for all the restrictions. So what I've done is I've drawn a graph of this locus here on the next page. Now to analyze a locus, there's one way that I want you to do it. So here we can see we have four different branches: the blue branch, the green branch, the red branch, and the yellow branch. So to analyze each of these branches, let's pick a point on the branch. We're going to then draw a little cross at each of our points of -1 because it's z minus minus 1 and minus I because it's z minus minus I. So now at -1, right, we're going to analyze this point here and its argument with the positive real axis at the point that we drew. So the argument of z plus 1 would be this angle here, and the argument of z plus I would be from the positive real axis all the way to here. Now hopefully we can recognize that the argument of z plus 1 in our case for this point that we've chosen is a positive acute angle, but the argument for z plus I is a positive obtuse angle, and these two aren't negatives of each other, and hence this region here should actually be excluded. So if I take away what we've drawn, we should be excluding this region here. Okay, and remember that we still have an open circle at arg of, or at -1 and minus I, because you cannot have an argument of 0. Now let's look at the next region. So this green region here, if we analyze the positive real axis, and let's pick a singular point and we draw this line here, hopefully we can recognize that that's a negative obtuse angle. Now if we go from the positive real axis of minus I to that point, we can see it's a positive acute angle, and hence the negative obtuse angle and the positive obtuse angle are negatives of each other, and hence this region will be included. So we're not going to remove that. Now let's look at the next region. So we're going to pick a point on this red branch and we analyze from the positive real axis of z plus 1, and we can see that this is a negative acute angle, and if we analyze from the positive real of z plus I, we'll see that's a negative obtuse angle. Negative acute angle and a negative obtuse angle aren't negatives of each other, so we need to exclude this region. Now the final branch. So on this yellow branch, analyzing the positive real axis of from z plus 1, we'll see that we have a negative acute angle, and from the positive real axis we have a positive acute angle, and so a negative acute angle and a positive acute angle are negatives of each other, and so this region will be included. So if we then get rid of these purple lines here, what we'll be left with is our final region. So cleaning that up, our region here with an open circle and our real axis, and then we also have an open circle here and this region with our imaginary axis. So that's how we'll approach this locus question. If you want more help with locus questions, feel free to join our exam program coming up.